Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome back once again to the Farts and Crap Show, where I, your host, Danjo, am so excited. I was so happy um, to see this in the PlayStation blog. I have quite a few things to go over, so just take a minute, grab yourself a cup of coffee or tea or whatever your beverage of choice, and let's just get into it. So first off, I have to say this is a follow-up video to my last PlayStation Vita, I guess video that I made, I guess update video about the store closing and grab these games. And that video did so well. Thank you guys so much. It is now about 2 weeks later, and the video got like 5,000 hits or something, like more than that. And I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you so much. So it looks like I'll be doing more Vita content in the future. But yeah, and also for all the lovely compliments you guys left, thank you. I'm deeply humbled and honored. And some of you guys really liked how chill it was, so I am here to once again bring the chillness. And I'm just gonna go ahead and read this for you guys. This was posted on April 19th, 2021, titled PlayStation Store on PS3 and PS Vita will continue operations. And it got nearly 3,000 likes in a day and 626 comments. This is huge compared to a lot of other posts and stuff that Sony puts out there. And also, you may notice in the corner on the right there, it says they updated their hashtag #PlayAtHome games, and Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition is free starting today. So if you play on PS4 or PS5, download that game. It is such a gem if you've never played it. Or if you have played it before and you just don't own it, definitely pick that up, add it to your library. It is, to this day, one of my favorite games to ever be a PlayStation exclusive. Alright, and the article is as follows. This is, I guess, from the desk of Jim Ryan himself, which, you know, people were very mad at this guy. Understandably so, I was too. So, subtitle, players will be able to continue to purchase games on PS3 and PS Vita. He goes on to write, recently, we notified players that PlayStation Store for PS3 and PS Vita devices was planned to end this summer. Upon further reflection, however, it's clear that we made the wrong decision here. So today, I'm happy to say that we will be keeping the PlayStation Store operational for PS3 and PS Vita devices. PSP Commerce functionality will retire on July 2nd, 2021 as planned. Now, I'm not too upset about this. I haven't had a PSP for many years, and the fact that it's still open is pretty great. Considering that was the same era as the Wii, the Nintendo Wii, and that store has been closed for quite some time. Now, he goes on to say, when we initially came to the decision to end purchasing support for PS3 and PS Vita, it was born out of a number of factors, including commerce support challenges for older devices, and the ability for us to focus more of our resources on newer devices, where a majority of our gamers are playing on. It's kind of a mess of a sentence, but okay. We see now that many of you are incredibly passionate about being able to continue purchasing classic games on PS3 and PS Vita for the foreseeable future, so I'm glad we were able to find a solution to continue operations. I'm glad that we can keep this piece of our history alive for gamers to enjoy, while we continue to create cutting-edge new game worlds for PS4, PS5, and the next generation of VR. Thank you for sharing your feedback with us. We're always listening and appreciate the support from our PlayStation community. Now, this was obviously a carefully crafted kind of PR statement in a way, as an apology, because I mean, this is Jim Ryan, the guy that recently said, like, why would you want to play, like, Gran Turismo 1 when we have Gran Turismo Sport, you know, and that's sort of statement. Well, here's part of the reason, Jim. Tons of your install base, millions of your install base, cannot get a PS5 at retail. And many people have given up and just paid scalpers for, like, you know, 50% increase. Hopefully like a modest over MSRP. I have seen stuff like that, but still it's always kind of sketchy not buying from like a retailer. And at retail, like, sometimes you're getting a bundle and that's why you're paying more, because you're actually getting more products. Like an extra DualSense controller, maybe a 3D Pulse headset. And so then you would pay $600, $700, $800. But tons of people, myself included, have not been able to pick up a PS5 yet. So a lot of people are kind of stuck on older generations. And also, just to hammer home another point here, go ahead and get rid of that. We cannot play a lot of these games on the modern platforms. Like, if we could play our PS3 library or a PS Vita library or a PSP library on PS4 and PS5, I don't think people would care nearly as much. Like, they made sure PS5 had, like, pretty much 100% backwards compatibility with PS4. So a lot of people were, you know, kind of thankful for that, better than nothing sort of thing. But here's the thing, and what I would really want to get into, because I'm thankful for this, but they could do so much more. Because Sony didn't really support the Vita at all. They assumed it would sell, so they didn't really advertise, market it. And they made a bunch of questionable decisions, like making the memory format proprietary and very almost immediately outdated. Like, the Vita memory cards are slow by today's standards. Like, your cheapest micro SD cards are faster. And I'm not saying micro SD is the right choice. Could go full SD. A lot of cameras and other devices still use full-size SD cards. In fact, the 3DS and the 2DS family of systems, most of those used full-size SD. But no, it's Sony, so they wanted to go proprietary like they did with the PSP and memory card stick duo, and, you know, or memory stick duo, whatever it was called. PS3 with Blu-ray. A lot of people bought a PS2 because it was a DVD player, a PS1 because it was on par with high-end CD players. I get it, you guys make media formats, and oftentimes they're very good. I will say the PS Vita memory cards are reliable, but they're very expensive, and they're out of production. So here's the thing. Sony refreshed the Vita with a second model, which, again, they didn't really advertise that they were doing. And as far as the service goes, like I mentioned in my last video, the PlayStation Store on the PSTV has not been updated in years. And somebody mentioned this, like, oh hey, you might need to update because there actually is like a newer version of the PlayStation Store on the Vita. Yes, on the handheld Vita, which has a different version of the PlayStation Store. PSTV was barely supported, even though it's the exact same operating system and like pretty much exactly the same as the Vita. As far as the hardware goes, it just doesn't have a screen. It just outputs through HDMI to your TV, which I prefer because most of my gaming is for this show. I don't game on my own time most of the time. I mean, a couple minutes before I go to sleep, but that's pretty much it. And here's the thing, the Vita, if it had a mild refresh, even if they didn't refresh the hardware, they stopped production of the Vita quite some time ago. So you can still get a new Vita at pretty close to MSRP, but the prices are still inflated. You have to import it from Japan most of the time. Thankfully, here in North America, you can go on Amazon and get one for a pretty decent price. But not the PSTV. They were super cheap for a while ago, and thankfully that's when I picked up mine. I think I only paid about $80 for it. But now, no, it's like at least $200. And that's way over MSRP even, and it was new. And the platform has so much potential. It had I mean, I'm going to go over some features here on the Vita that were wildly underutilized, and honestly are even better than what's offered on the Switch in some ways. First of all, I have multiple tasks going right now. Like, you can have tabs for different things that you're doing. I had the store open. You could just hit the home button, go to a different page. I had Xenogears loaded up. You can just hit the PlayStation button. And here's the thing you might not know about PS1 and I think PSP games. There's this thing right here. You know what this is? This is an actual scanned copy of the original manual of the game for you to peruse. And you have different like display options, like single page or dual page. And it is one for one the game manual. A lot of people don't even know about this feature. And you can even, just like switch it to like a scrolling kind of display. This is amazing. I love this feature so much. And it works with, like famously with Final Fantasy VII. It had I don't think I have 7 installed right now. Yeah, I don't. It had the like Brady games or Prima games or whatever, like walkthrough for the first part of the game in the manual. Um, so for those games that had originally like very thick game manuals on the PS1, those are intact here, which is amazing. Another thing too, about storage. Yeah, in order to do certain things, it does have to close your games that are suspended. So I'm only using a 16 gigabyte card right now. Yeah, which is 14 available gigabytes. And I only have, what, 1.4 gigs left? Yeah. So storage is not great because of the incredibly low capacity. However, you can copy content to even like your PC. Now, I don't remember if you can copy to PS4. And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead. Oh, right. You can back up to PS3, which is weird. But yeah, you can just back up your games on your PC, like entire applications. And even like with online storage as well. Like if you want to use like cloud saves for your Vita games, I think it's for PS1, PSP, and all that stuff. Um, yeah, it's more features. Like I mean, trophies. We still don't have achievements on the Switch. Music, you could play your own music while you play certain games, and then you could just press and hold the quick menu, essentially a PlayStation button, and control the control the audio levels individually, which is amazing. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've used this feature when I had my handheld Vita, and I would just like be jamming out to like whatever, my music collection that I could just copy over from my PC to my Vita. I mean, you could play videos, like you could even do your email. There was a calendar, the PS4 link. Like you could use the Vita as a controller for certain PS4 games. So you had like kind of a Wii U kind of setup. You had like your tablet where you could do a bunch of things. And then, you know what I mean? Like a second screen kind of thing. It was so cool. Yeah, you could also copy over like screenshots and stuff like that. And since it is like with it was faster on the handheld Vita because you could actually just plug it in via USB and copy things over. But you can also just copy over things wirelessly if you want to. So like, if I wanted more space, and I was like, okay, well, I haven't played like Muramasa Rebirth in a while, and it's only 800 megabytes, really? Man, I thought it was bigger than that. Tales of Hearts are 1.6 gigabytes. Huh. That's interesting. I wonder what the biggest game is. I mean, some PSP games were about that. Ghost of Sparta is probably over a gigabyte. Yeah, it is. So if I wanted to make room without deleting something, I could just copy it over to my PC and then re-download more of my games onto my system. I could back up my entire library on my PC. And I get it. I totally get it. Like Sony's position, like they were dealing, like there are so many modded systems out there, and hacking, even though homebrew is like an amazing utility, and you know, emulation has come super far and all this other stuff. can hurt the platform. Like, they had an AMA with a Sony ex-employee. I forget who was doing the interview, but it was on one of those publications like Wired or The Verge or something like that. Um, and they were saying that low sales and like hacking was kind of like one of the big reasons they stopped supporting the platform. And I was like, man, that really that really just hurts, because I love this platform so much. And I mean, these features were like so great. And yes, the Vita is not the most powerful system. It can't even output 1080p. Even on PSP games, the emulation, which it pretty much is. I mean, the system is still emulating the games, blah blah blah. It's pretty much one-to-one performance. Like, I mean, Ghost of Sparta is a hard one. Like, that one, you have a little bit of slowdown. But for the most part, like, even just like Vice City and like Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, Final Fantasy 3, games like that, I mean, E7, like, those all pretty much run at like 100% full speed all the time. And it's just sad. I mean, I really want... There's so much potential here. What I'm saying is I just want them to put it back into production with minor changes. If they did another revision of the Vita, I think it could be a massive success, just based on how big mobile, like, handheld gaming is now. I mean, partially because of the success of the Switch. And there is no, like, especially, and also it goes in line with like what Sony was obviously trying to do with remote play, like playing their PS5 like on different devices that could support it. And like, you could, like, in my experience, most people didn't use it because you needed really good Wi-Fi essentially, and a device that I could actually run the application, which tons of Android devices couldn't do it when they introduced it. But thankfully, like, the latest like iPads and stuff like that could do it. But here's some things. Like, the technology at this point is dated enough to where they could produce new Vitas and new PSTVs at a very low cost. And they could do the price cut thing like Sony did, or with Nintendo did with the 3DS. The 3DS was not a success at first. And Iwata did this whole thing that he's like, I'm sorry, like, I'll take a pay cut. I'm gonna cut the price of the 3DS. Like, we believe in this. And they put out some quality software, and people bought them, and people played them, and it was hugely successful. And I think Sony can do the same thing with that same level of comeback, especially if they add, like I said, like a PS5 link and PS4 link. It was so limited in what you could do with it. But like the Wii U, they were onto something with the Wii U. The gamepad functionality was such a great idea, and it worked really well with some games. However, that technology was quickly made irrelevant, and the wireless was kind of terrible. So if they just updated the wireless receiver, essentially, because the Vita doesn't even support 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. It was 2.4. So if they updated that, finally rolled out the new models with micro SD or even full-size SD, I think that would be enough. And actually like update the software to where people want to use it. I get the whole browser thing led to like vulnerabilities, and if they want to pull the browser, that's fine. The browser doesn't really work for much of anything, and the PS5 doesn't have a browser, so I get it. Take away the browser, make the features you already have better, or just keep them the way they are and just like actually update it, the actual like system software. Update the PS Store, expand the compatibility. That's the other thing that is terrible about the PSTV that they never fixed. Like, I have games on here that I can't run on the PSTV that shouldn't have any problem running on the PSTV. Like here, I'll show you guys. Cannot connect to what? Why not? Oh, because I've had it open for too long or something? Okay. That's fine. Anyway, they might have even rolled out a firmware update. I don't know, I might actually... Sometimes it won't connect. In time it'll give you that message if you actually need to update the firmware. So like the PSP Armored Cores. Like Armored Core 3 was one that I bought. The PSP version. I think it's actually just called Armored Core 3 Portable. And I downloaded it to the system and installed. And then I tried opening it and said, could not open software. It's like, because, and so I looked it up, and it's not compatible with the system. It's compatible with the handheld Vita, but not the PSTV, even though there's absolutely no reason it wouldn't be compatible. And here's the other thing about it, I just wanted to say real quick. A lot of these games are playable in another form. Final Fantasy Tactics, The War of the Lions, was brought to other platforms. E7 got a port to Steam, as well as Final Fantasy 3, actually. And God of War Ghost of Sparta and Chains of Olympus are both have remasters on the PS3, if you can pick them up in your region. Sometimes the only way to do that is to physically get the God of War Origins collection. So, but yeah, a commenter let me know that is like, no, you can get them digitally, at least in whatever the region was they mentioned. And sorry for paraphrasing all this stuff so much, but some of these, this is the only way to play them. Like Stardew, you can play on tons of platforms. It's been ported to everything at this point. Legend of Mana is getting a remaster. However, this is actually a better way to play some of these games. Like Symphony of the Night, the PS1 version is still, in my eyes, the definitive version of the game. It doesn't have Maria as a playable character, but that's the only downside. And yes, if you get the Saturn version, like working correctly with like certain tweaks and stuff like that, it doesn't have the same like slowdown problems that it would on real hardware. Okay, that's fine. But a lot of these games haven't been ported. The original Xenogears hasn't. Vagrant Story hasn't. And I don't think the PSP version of Final Fantasy IV has. And there are some that are available in other regions that I can't actually purchase on the PlayStation Store because they're not available. Like the 20th anniversary editions of Final Fantasy 1 and 2. Valkyrie Profile Lenneth comes to mind, which is one of the best games on the PSP. And yes, it's a port, but it's kind of better than the PS1 version in every way. And yeah. And let's not forget that recently Sony did have that patent that they filed about essentially earning trophies on emulated games. So they might be working on backwards compatibility for these classic titles. But Tales of Hearts R and Muramasa Rebirth, the Vita is the only way to play those games. And thank you so much, Bandai Namco, for actually bringing Tales of Hearts R to the Vita. Like, that game was like a Japanese-only game, and they actually localized it and brought it to the Vita. And I think initially it was on the DS in Japan. And this is one of the best exclusives for the system. Like, no joke. This is straight up just one of the best reasons to own a Vita. And like, I really miss these pages, like the whole like having different pages for your different tasks and whatnot. It was so cool. And yes, Muramasa Rebirth, or Muramasa Demon Blade, or whatever the original subtitle was, it was on the Wii initially. But there's exclusive content in this version. And this is made by Vanillaware. If you haven't heard of it, they're the guys that did Odin Sphere and Dragon's Crown. And they make such gorgeous games. All the other Vita games, I don't really care as much, because a lot of them, the ones that I wanted to play at least, got ported to other platforms. Sure, there were things like Soul Sacrifice and Ragnarok Odyssey Ace and Freedom Wars. But yeah, I mean, oh, and Toukiden initially was a Vita exclusive. I know I'm saying that wrong, sorry. Let's try opening the store again real quick, because I'll just show you guys, since my pronunciation is terrible. Sometimes it just has to like reconnect. There we go. And we're getting into the usual cutoff time, so that one. Toukiden? It might be Toukiden. Anyways, this game got ported to other platforms. So, I mean, you can play it on PS4, which is better. Definitely. But yeah, there are certain games that haven't really been ported. And there is the Vita version, but it's not a good way to play them. Like, I like a while ago, I think when they were doing their final sale on the PS Vita, or actually, let's be optimistic, the most recent sale on the Vita, I bought the God of War collection, because it was like $5. And I was like, I love God of War 1 and 2. I don't care if it has any of the other games, because I have the other games anyway. But I didn't have a way to play these games like in their remastered format. But these actually don't even look as good as the PS2 originals. I mean, they're in widescreen, but they run at a terrible frame rate, and I just can't recommend this version of God of War 1 and 2. I love those games. They were some of my favorites on the PS2. I just can't recommend this collection. And I've heard actually the same thing about the Jak and Daxter collection. But again, they got ported to other platforms. And Fez. Fez actually just got announced at the Indie... Was it Indie World? Or Indie Partner Showcase or whatever? It's coming to the Switch. But yeah, Fez was like a huge fan favorite for many years. And actually Wait, when is the date on this one? It usually has like the copyright date at the bottom. I don't see one on this. That's weird. Strange. But yeah, there were cross-buy games too. So like if you get certain Vita games, you could also download the PS3, PS4 versions. And some games even had like some of the cross-buy games had shared like save data. Like you could literally play, I don't know if Fez was one of them, but you could play a game on your PS4, and then if your Vita was like linked to your PS4, you could just like copy over your save data and then continue playing on the go. Like very much the same as what people enjoy now on the Switch. They just play it in docked mode and then grab the Switch out of the dock and then keep playing. Now granted, that is more seamless, but the idea was there. And it's just so much wasted potential. It's a huge shame if Sony doesn't do anything else. I would get it. That's kind of what I'm expecting. I think they're just kind of delaying the inevitable, like, you know. But the Vita was incredible. It's honestly my favorite PlayStation platform that they've put out since the PlayStation 2. Which I still have my PS2 hooked up to my TV. For those of you who don't know, I do PS2 games as a series every so often. Most recently with Armored Core Nexus. And that's the other thing too, is like, sure, a lot of people didn't buy the PS2 on PS4 games, which, again, super underutilized. But those weren't the PS2 games that people wanted to play on your new machine, Sony. Some of them were, but there was no Armored Core. There was no Ace Combat. There was no, like in none of the collections. And that's the other thing too, like with games like Symphony of the Night, like Mega Man X4, which I don't have installed right now, but stuff like that, they do these modern ports, and it's just like an emulated collection of games, and they screw it up. Like, I was so excited about the Mega Man X collection because it had X1, X2, X3, and X4. Two of those, which I think are some of the best entries in the entire series, which there are a ton of Mega Man games, by the way. At one point in time, it was the longest running series in video games. And yeah, Mega Man X and Mega Man X4, I think, are two of the best entries. but that collection had some terrible emulation on it and just so much lag. I was like, this is not a good way to play these games. Thankfully, the Super Nintendo Classic came with Mega Man X. Wait, did it? Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. And like, I have like a couple copies of X4. Even on the PS2, again, the Mega Man X collection had a much better version of X4. Playing it on here, you know. Oh, it's good coffee. Thankfully, I didn't have that same problem with the Mega Man Legacy Collection 2, which has Mega Man 8, which is one of my other favorite games in the series. It was a little bit laggy, but not nearly as bad. It was playable. And with Symphony of the Night, they did finally bring that to PS4 with Castlevania Requiem, which had Rondo of Blood on it, and Symphony of the Night. And fans rejoiced because they're like, yes, Rondo of Blood finally coming back, because previously the only way to buy it was on the Wii shop. On the Wii, which is now closed. So yeah, unless you picked it up back then, which was just the Turbo Graphics version, which was appreciated because that was the original version, or PC Engine, I guess. No, it was the CD. What'd they call it? The CD one? Yeah, I think it was PC Engine. Anyway, that platform. And yeah, the PSP version, which was the Dracula X Chronicles, was essentially what they used for Castlevania Requiem. They just, again, emulated a PSP game, cut out the 2.5D like version of Rondo of Blood that nobody liked, and called it a day. And they've done that tons of times with modern ports on the PS4, where they just upscale a PSP game. And if you haven't heard of this before, yes, I'm totally serious. They did it with Parappa the Rapper, which was the PSP version. Loco Roco, Patapon, just to name a few off the top of my head. I know there's more, but yeah, a lot of these, PS1 is the only way. The PS1 Classic is the only way to play it. And in this era, PSN was killing it. There are so many classic games from the PS1 and the PSP on the PS Vita store. And playing them on the go would be a dream if they just went that extra step when they updated the Vita to include a few basic things. 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, like micro SD support. I guess now USB-C would kind of be a necessity. And hell, they could make, like, another commenter let me know that there was a dock for the PSP that was incredibly rare. And then I was like, oh yeah, I did have some kind of like dock kind of thing for my PSP back in the day. It wasn't the official one, like Sony did have an official one, but there was a couple of third-party ones, and it was incredible. Like, it could have been, oh wait, was it the PSP or the Vita? It might have been the Vita. Because the PSP and the brown... Anyway, they have played around with that idea before. It didn't connect to a TV. It was just kind of like a charging stand, and like it had some speakers on it for like playing video or music and that sort of thing. But they could bring it back and compete with the Switch. And because people love the Switch so much, it could come back in a big way. Like, imagine USB-C Vita with just those two things, 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, micro SD support, and you could get a dock for it. So you just drop it in the dock like a Switch. Boom, playing on your TV. And with the other features that they already have, like remote play, if they just added a PS5 link, come on. That would sell. Sony would just have to support it with firmware updates and actually advertise. Like, market the thing. The marketing was terrible. Same reason why the Wii U didn't take off. People thought it was a tablet add-on for the Wii. And the commercials did not help illustrate that it was actually a new console. So anyway, that's my rant. Thankfully, the PS Vita store isn't going anywhere. I am going to be doing some series for some of these games. I did actually pick up some things since I made that video about my recommendations, because at the time I realized I didn't have Ghost of Sparta, so I picked that up. Also picked up Xenogears, which has been awesome. I've played a little bit of that. But for my top recommendations, definitely pick up Tales of Hearts R, especially if you're a JRPG fan. If you're not, I get it. Tales of series doesn't appeal to everybody. Definitely Muramasa Rebirth if you like hand-drawn, like 2D action games. Highly recommend. As far as PSP games, Final Fantasy Tactics: The War of the Lions, E7. It's one of my favorite action RPGs of all time. Final Fantasy III, however, if you play games on PC, like Steam, Final Fantasy III and E7, and I think Final Fantasy Tactics, I think all three of those are on Steam. I'm pretty sure. Hot Shots Golf 2, OpenT, yeah, I picked that one up recently too, actually. As far as PS1 games go, definitely Symphony of the Night. Pick that up. If you're a Chrono Trigger fan, PS1 version has the hand-drawn animated cutscenes from Akira Toriyama. So that's a great one. It has a little bit of load times, but that's because the original had load times. But still, fantastic JRPG. Xenogears is amazing. Another one, Grandia. Grandia is so good. The first Grandia game is... I think probably I don't want to say the best in the series, because I think that honor goes to 3. But as far as like retro PS1 goes, I mean 3 was on the PS2, so Final Fantasy 5 and 6 are both really good. But this Vagrant Story was also fantastic. Like, I honestly love all these games, so it's kind of hard for me to pick favorites right now. If you pick up one PSP game, and it depends on your taste too. So Final Fantasy Tactics: The War of the Lions is obviously a strategy RPG, same as Tactics Ogre, Let Us Cling Together. For a classic JRPG, I would say Final Fantasy III. For an action RPG, I would say E7 or Symphony of the Night. It's kind of an action RPG, sort of. But yeah, like I said, for a lot of these games, there are other ways to play these. And as far as storage goes, definitely if you're stuck with something like a 16 gigabyte card or a 32 gigabyte card and you just don't have room for your library, definitely recommend backing up your games to your PC. It's an awesome feature. And I think that's it. I just really hope the Vita comes back in a big way, and I know it can. Potential is there. And I'm kind of like really grasping at straws, like really reaching, like, oh man, they should bring it back. USB-C, micro SD support, 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, which is like AC and Wi-Fi or whatever. Can't remember what the actual term is. But yeah, even if they just brought it back, like there was a huge influx of sales. I know that was a big factor in Sony's decision, and I hope they get the message that there is potential here, and the Vita could come back in a huge way. So let me know what you guys think. Sorry for rambling on for too long. Again, I meant to make this shorter than the previous video. It wasn't. My apologies. I just care so much about this platform. And yeah. And happy gaming, everybody. Like seriously, like these games are so precious to me. It's hard. Oh yeah, Legend of Mana is getting an HD port, so I could actually probably go ahead and delete this one. It's 300 megabytes. Yeah, which I fully intend on getting because this game is gorgeous. It's kind of weird. It's very different from most of the other Mana games. But yeah, let's see. In the comment section, let me know what your favorite what is it? What should I go with today? Okay, let's actually do this. What is your favorite JRPG? And if you haven't played a JRPG in a while, I would highly recommend just play one. I know there's a lot of Squaresoft here, but they were kind of the kings of the JRPG in the 90s, going into the 2000s. But yeah, I'm probably actually going to re-download Final Fantasy IX on here because I love the recent port, but it's based on the mobile version, and again, PS1 version is better in my opinion. But yeah, what is your favorite JRPG on the Vita or the PS3? And which one would you like to see come to the platform? If they... Which at the very least I hope happens. I hope Sony actually brings more PS1 classics to PSN, as well as PSP games. For me, my favorite on the platform, favorite JRPG on the platform, right now, at the time of recording, it's Final Fantasy IX. That's my favorite. It's still one of my favorite games of all time. My favorite one that's not on the platform yet, but could be added, would be Tales of the World Radiant Mythology. 1, 2, and 3. Only one ever came out. Only the first one came out in English. The other two, I think, were Japanese exclusive. But they're all fantastic JRPGs. Which actually 2 and 3 I have played before. I didn't really understand what was going on because they weren't translated. so I never beat them. But they're very fun, and I wish they would bring them either to PSN as PSP Classics, or even just like a upscaled collection of PSP games. I'd be totally happy with that. I would buy that in an instant. And again, I'm pretty sure that's Bandai Namco. So, yeah, anyways, that's gonna do it for me, guys. Very glad the Vita isn't going anywhere. I was gonna make a video on the PS3 store. That's what this video was going to be. But that's a whole debacle. The TLDR, I mean, I'm gonna probably make a video on it, but yeah, you know what? No, I'm still making a video on it. Never mind. I'm not gonna put a TLDR for that because I have a lot to say on that. And that's gonna take at least half an hour for me to get through all the information. So, have a beautiful day, everybody. Thank you for stopping by. If you like this video, you know what to do. Click those buttons down there, and much love, everybody. Happy gaming, and another one I will say is try some retro games. That's kind of the whole point, right? I know the graphics weren't super good, but the stories are great. The gameplay is classic. It's timeless even. The music for a lot of these games is phenomenal. And there's a lot of value there. I don't think Jim Ryan sees it, but I definitely do. So there's a lot of value in you. So you guys are fantastic, and I'll catch you later.